Welcome, or perhaps welcome back. I am a storyteller, and today we will have a reading of Blood Dancer. It is an original work. Chapter 1. The storm beat against my face with the rage of the oppressed. Malik ran hard. Fear of the doomed pushed his every step. His legs pumped at a frenzied pace. Malik was young, weak, even for an idolist. He was barely 20 years undead. His youthful stench offended my nose. He did fit my needs perfectly. I needed blood, or to be more precise, the blood of an undead being, a vampire. The word carried the images of dark, powerful sexual beings that fed on humans. The trick with the Eidolon is they have to grow into the dark and powerful being, and I am smart enough to stay away from them, at least for now. The vampire race is divided into two classes. The weak, the vampire race is divided into more powerful Eidolon. The more common idolists die by the masses, but the more common and more powerful Eidolon survives. The trick with the Eidolon is they have to grow into that dark, powerful being. Usually they start off much more powerful. Still more powerful than an idolist, but nowhere near what they're capable of. But the rare and more young ones unsure of themselves or their new bodies. While they are trying to grow into their fantastic new bodies, the more common idolists die by the masses, usually fatal ones. But the case rarer, Malik, 20 years dead, he ran as fast and as hard as he could. He is running so hard that he cannot avoid anything. I started in a controllable sprint. I know how fast I can move if I really pushed myself. I know my limits, and unlike Malik, I was not drilled to always try to appear human. I could have frozen him in place with just a word. But this is a lot more fun. I've hunted his kind ever since I was told about their existence. The first one was so hard, but as the voice said, it would get easier. Don't let him get away, Connor, the voice in my head said. I turned my attention back to the trail. Every mistake sealed his fate. Every sloppy move a wealth of information about his kind. He ran blindly down the alley, bumping into the dumpsters along the way. Typical. Fear made him clumsy. It shouldn't take too much longer. Fear always made his kind predictable. I tracked him down 5 different alleys. He left a thinning cloud of death in his wake. It was easy to follow the trail as long as I didn't let him get too far ahead. He was huddled among a bunch of homeless. They were all huddled in a darkened corner like rats. The presence of death clung to him like a cloud. Don't let him get away, Connor. Malik. Hello, Malik, I said. Sensing violence, all of the homeless scattered. Using his preternatural speed, Malik launched himself at me, his hands around my neck, closing my air supply. I had just enough air to whisper the one word that rendered his preternatural body useless. His body was frozen, but his eyes showed the panic he must have felt. He knew it was over. Looking around the alley as I walked closer, the shock and fear danced within his eyes. Finding a piece of pipe, I rained blows across his head. I had to be careful not to destroy him. Yet, I still needed to take the blood from his heart while he still lived. I bashed his skull into a mushy pulp. Using a hypodermic needle, I drained as much blood directly from his heart as I could. After extracting as much fluid as I could, I pulled out my serrated-edged knife and cut my way into the chest cavity and ripped the bloodless husk from his chest. Sensing violence, all the homeless scattered. Bloody, Gore-covered nails pointed down to the body of the twice-deceased Malik. The headless corpse quickly began to decompose. Although I had bashed his skull in, he just would not decompose until I broke the connection of heart and body. The broken gift of the idolist faded into the night like a mortal's last breath. And yes, I am human. Reaching into my pocket for the small vial of lighter looking fluid, around the alley as I walked and my lighter, the shock, my thumb brushed against my cross. My skin looking around the alley split where I touched the edge of the cross. A shock. There was very little pain within his eyes, almost as if the skin had numbed or had become heavily calloused. Yes, watching the bloodless wound, it was slow to reknit. I am human, I said softly. I dribbled the flammable liquid over the body and then took a quick look around to make sure his pitiful whining didn't attract any attention. Satisfied that no one was around, I pulled out his canines from the lumpy mass that was his skull. Pocketing them along with his blood, I lit the Zippo and proceeded to slow roast Malik. Unlike the movies, he didn't burst into a pillar of flame. It was more like a smoldering cremation. The wind and rain pounded against the windows almost as in a fit of desperation, as if the breaking the window would save a life. After a striking storm in Chicago never raged as I possibly could, I pulled out my threaded edge knife and cut my way into the chest cavity and ripped the rain must be making him later from his chest. Malik is not broken, bloody to a practice. Gore-covered nails pointed down to the body that was. He is over an hour later, Andrea. Malik. If he does not show up soon, we would have to go on without him. He is over a lot. Please give him a little more time. I know he will show up, and it will crush him if he lost his spot, Andrea said. Yes. You will die. No. And yes, he had his chance. I am human. Who can we get to cover his position? I said. Well, Malik was the best dancer in the troupe. However, there are others. We have Robert, she said. Okay, Robert, impress me. Dance as if your life depended on it, I said. His body moved fluidly, gracefully, without flaw. Unfortunately, Robert moved with as much passion as a goldfish. He just looked non-human, mechanical. Every move was just too perfect. It looked unnatural. Standing up and crossing the room to where Robert was dancing. Robert, you don't have it. But Alyssa, what do you mean? He said. You either have it or you don't. Malik had it, you don't. I turned my back on Robert and walked back towards Andrea. Andrea, this will be viewed by the Eidolons. Brandon is allowing me to manage the western suburbs. Anything that he can find out of place will be a strike against me and us. Normally storms in Chicago never rage. It would be perfect, she said quickly. It was almost like an omen of things that can come. Anyone in this place dance? Open, an idolist rushed in, soaked from the rain. It was Nathan, one of my roamers. They are part of the spy network, I guess you could say. In exchange for protection, he feeds me information. I think something bad has happened to Malik. His car was found abandoned near the site of a burned body. All the eyes cast in his direction. It was Malik's car, I said in an even tone. No, it was his car. License plates matched and everything. To cover his position, I said. Did you get a chance to see the body? I asked. No, but if Malik is not here, it had to be him. Sitting in a chair, rubbing my suddenly throbbing temples. We don't have many natural predators, I thought to myself. The agrarians are known to live in the north. This body moves fluidly, gracefully. Most of the best hunting grounds are up there, but it comes with a lot of risk. Hell, more than most. But to murder one of our own is an instant death sentence. We only manage the areas. Brandon owns the areas. He would not tolerate us killing each other if for no other reason it weakened his city. Nathan, You take William and Carolyn to where the body is, and head over to Stevens
Chapter
and
2.
see if he knows anything about this. Andrea, this will be viewed by the Eidolons. Find out what you can about the body, and all you meet back at home. Standing to leave, calling over my shoulder, sounding wearier than I had wanted. Andrea, someone, anyone who can dance for the recital, manage the western suburbs. The dark, vibrant energy of the club was both a great and a terrible idea. It was just what I needed to recharge, but watching the bodies romance each other through sensuous movement brought a hunger that no amount of blood would satisfy. It was the oddest thing. Chicago was, for the first time in a long time, doing fine. The city was stable. Brandon had the city running like a clock. Energy of the club was wares were off the warpath and a terrible. Trade and travel was at an all-time high. Idolists are patrolling the vibrant energy keeping a vigilant eye out for invaders. That move in and of itself drew a lot of raised eyebrows. I said in an even tone. I had to sell that idea to Dara and Brandon. I had to tag my name to the policy to manage the Western personal guarantee on it working. It was a major victory for me in the political arena, so that should buy me at least a year of solitude. By all accounts, I should be basking in the glow of prosperity. But as with every night, it blended into the previous one until they became this gray mass. Something was missing, but for the life of me, I could not figure out what it was. Absorbing the ambience, I found myself seated and watching the world pass by. I watched as the three youths entered the club. The bouncer talked to the one and then let the group in. I remembered the most vocal of the three. He was a bouncer at one of the other clubs. His skin was as dark as midnight on a country road. They all looked underage. Somewhere between 18 and 20, give or take a year. How he had got a job as a bouncer is something I should ask the manager. Brandon would be furious if one of his clubs got closed down because of sloppy practices. The three walked with a swagger that suggested they owned the place. I dismissed them as being too young even for food, but my eyes kept being drawn back to the quiet, reserved one with a slight build. He wore all black, but his skin was the color of melted caramel. He always positioned himself behind or between the other two. Everyone else was an open book. They were all so easy to read, except for him. I could only read his posture and his eyes. They were happy. His body showed defense, like he was ready for a fight, but his eyes were kind. It was as if he was in awe of the moment. I watched them play a few games of billiards from a distance. They enjoyed a camaraderie that was full and complete. It was one only shared by the very young who believed they would live forever, and their legacy is in the now. Every so often he would position himself so that he could steal a glance here, give a weak smile there. I could see that there was a sadness in him that all the posturing could not cover. When they left, the energy in the room plummeted. The room instantly became stagnant. There was something about that young one. He was too young now, but in time, I thought with a wistful smile. I'm opening a new club downtown. It's called My purse vibrated softly. I believe I took a deep breath that ended in a tired sigh. All of the idolists. Only two people ever called me on this phone. Get any of their stench on my clothes. The royal couple. I just left them less than a week ago. Without looking at the ID to see which of the royal couple, I thought to myself. Without looking at the ID to see which of the royal couple wanted me, I cleared my voice to not sound as sarcastic as I felt. Yes, my lord, I answered. Ariana, on Friday, I'm calling a meeting to promote the idolist Alyssa. They only manage the area Brandon owns over the western region. I expect all of the Eidolons to would not tolerate us killing each other if for no other reason. I am opening a new club downtown. It is called The Abyss. I believe it is fitting as it is central to all of the idolists, but not close enough to get any of their stench on my clothes. Where was the car found? I will be there. North, near downtown. I would expect nothing less from my arbiter. You
Would he
should be
burn
ecstatic.
one of us to death?
Your ideal is
I had to
really
ask
taking
myself.
off. It may become trendy
We
to have
all
the
take
idolists watch
managing
sectors
parts
of
of
the city.
town
If it has
seriously.
continued success, other cities may start looking at Chicago as the blueprint.
Yes, my lord. I'm happy for your continued success.
The line went blissfully dead.
Standing the
He
leaves,
just wanted
calling
to
over my
flaunt that
shoulder,
he had
sounding
built a new
wearier than I
monument to
wanted.
his reign.
Andrea,
I guess if I ever was able to hold a city, I would have to create buildings
standing
or
to
other
leave, carrying
knickknacks to commemorate my time as a ruler. He already has plans of promoting
Nathan,
my
you
idea
take
as
William
his
and
own.
Carolyn to where the
Idle
body
and
is
politics
found.
are such crap. I mentally counted to 10. I hated this
The
part
dark,
of my
vibrant
job.
energy of the club
I
was
thought I
both a
became
great
a
and
vampire
terrible
did not
idea.
have to work. I
It
barely
was
have
just
time to
what I
feed
needed
without
to
one of the royal
recharge,
pains
but watching
dogging
the
me to do
bodies
something.
romance each other through
It's the first
sinew.
truly warm spring night.
The city
I
was
waited
stable.
all year to
Brandon
retract the
had the
roof on
city
my
running like
Porsche.
a clock.
I had purchased
The
a
wares,
little emerald green
I'm
party
sorry, the
dress
agrarian
especially for tonight.
are off the
I took off the
warpath.
3-inch matching heels so that I could
thought
drive the car
I became a
comfortably.
I always
thought I
drove without shoes until I got a feel for a
had
car.
purchased the
The
little
engine
emerald
hummed
green
as the top slowly came down.
I figured I could take the highway and let the wind really blow through my hair. The art museum was having a showing of Georges de la Tour. I always go see any of my cousins' work when they're having a showing. Perhaps I will fly to France to see some of my descendants when I have time. And that concludes the first 4 chapters of Blood Dancer. Hopefully you'll join me again for the next episode. By all accounts, I should be basking in the growth. Brandon would be furious if one of his clubs got shut down because of sloppy practices. Brandon would be furious if one of his clubs got closed down because of sloppy practices. Ariana, on Friday, I'm calling a meeting to promote the idol. Clear my voice, not too long. I'm opening a new club. It's called The Abyss. I'm opening a new club. I'm opening a new club downtown. The abyss. I believe it is fitting. It was as if he was in awe of the moment. I watched him play a few games of billiards from a distance. It was as if he was in awe of the moment. It was as if he. You should be ecstatic. Your ideal is really taken. You should be ecstatic. Your ideal is. Where will it be, my liege? I asked. He just wanted to flaunt that he built a new monument to his reign. I guess if I ever was able to hold a city, I would have to create buildings and other knickknacks to commemorate my time as a ruler to his reign. He already has plans of promoting my idea as his own. Or was able to hold a city, I would have to create buildings and other knickknacks commemorating my time as a ruler. He already has plans of promoting my idea as his own. He already has. If it fails, I would bear the brunt of the blame. But if it is a success, then it becomes a joint effort of the city's monarchy. Young now, he already has plans of promoting my idea as his own. If it fails, I will get the brunt of the blame. But if it is a success, then it becomes a joint effort from the city's monarchy, asking me to do something. It was the first truly warm spring night. It was on it all. And that concludes our reading of the first four chapters. Hopefully, I will get to see you again. Perhaps I will fly to France. Where would it be, my liege? Where would it be, my liege? Where will it be, my liege? The line went please. Eidolon politics are such crap. I mentally continued. Eidolon Ponte. Emerald Green Party just